and it's a day in history. Today, Donald Trump set to be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States in one of the greatest political comebacks in history.
Indeed. He has promised to sign 200 executive orders today. This is his first day, busy day.
Yeah.
So I remember he used to sign autographs. I remember when I brought my autobiography out and you had to sign them, like, oh my word, your hand is about to fall off.
Well, that's how he's going to feel today.
Indeed. So he's going to sign off border security, cost of living, energy, all sorts of things. So we're asking today, with all of this, and he's off to a flying start, can Donald Trump really make America great again?
Well, let's speak now to Reform UK's Dame Andrea Jenkyns. Good to see you this morning, Andrea. Can Donald Trump make America great again?
Oh, I think we're going to see a dawn of a positive new era, actually, a return to common sense. And I also think one where we move away from this globalist agenda and a return to, like statehood and sovereignty, where we put our own countries first. I think it'll have a knock-on effect. So I'm very excited. I wish I'd have worn my MAGA hat.
Doesn't matter what he does. We're not going to put our country first, Andrea. I mean, you look, Keir Starmer, it's all about... What's that, what?
Not under the socialists, but I think it'll...
Exactly.
The next few years, I think people will see in Britain what they're doing in America and they'll want it here in Britain. So I think that's what...
So what, we'd stop giving money away to the whole world? We don't have any money of our own, and yet we give billions to Ukraine. I don't know what else. We hand money out right, left and centre and whatever.
As well. I mean, one thing that I thought was great, Trump's talking about pulling out the climate change, Paris Climate Change Agreement, which, was starting to last time, and they returned under Biden. I think that's great because what he's saying, I don't know if you heard him yesterday when he said that is going to wipe away this climate change policies and unleash American energy. And I think that's what we need to do here in Britain. And I also, other things that he's going to do is, did you see he's also going to be pushing back on men playing in women's sports? And it's like, hallelujah. So I think this common sense approach, people are sick of being silenced. I think it'll be a return to free speech, especially with the influence of Elon and X. I think as I said, it's really going to be a new era that we're going to come into globally. Just
looking at the village people dancing there. Yeah. Very good. But Andrea, are you saying what you've just said there? Do you actually think there is an appetite for that in Britain, that we should look after ourselves more before we turn elsewhere?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, look. People are struggling. We saw the energy prices shoot up, and it's my old government as well with this crazy climate change agenda. I've always pushed back on this myself, and we've seen what Ed Miliband's doing, and people are sick of it. They're struggling financially, and it's like, what about here in Britain? I mean, one thing I'm doing is I hate to see homeless people on the street, especially when it's our veterans. And so if I get elected, I'm going to bring this policy. I went across to Hull last week, and they do this Homes for Heroes policy. And I think it's things like this, putting our own British people at the forefront of things is important. And I certainly think that's what Trump's going to do in America.
But do you think the isolationist policies that Trump is going to come out with, America First policies, that will potentially have an impact on us in terms of tariffs? I mean, you must be nervous about that.
Look, I think that thankfully Nigel Farage is there and he can build, well, he's already got a good relationship. So I'd be surprised if they do strong tariffs on Britain, although it depends, I guess, what Keir Starmer does. I mean, did you also see that they're going to reject his choice as ambassador? Yeah. Which will be an interesting move. But no, I don't think it will, because I think people are looking, these globalist agendas. Are countries across the world better off? Are we better off in Britain? I'm not sure we are, actually.
And can we fix the problem? I think you're going to stop looking at everybody else's problems and look after your own. But Andrea, really interesting to hear what you had to say. We've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your contribution this morning. I think Andrea talking about going to Hull and seeing homeless people. This gets me all the time. It really gets me. Why do we even have homeless people? Why are we using money to do with that? Why have we got potholes in the roads? Why are we handing money in a world aid budget? I believe natural disasters and whatever, yes, intervene, do all that. But all this business of feeding cultural projects around the world, what a lot of nonsense.
Joining us now in the studio is political commentator Theo Usherwood. Good to see you, Theo.
Good morning.
Trump 2.0.
Yes.
What does it mean for our special relationship?
It's going to be bumpy. We've already got, we know there's going to be, efforts made by Keir Starmer, and he's got this new mini cabinet to try and secure a trade deal with Donald Trump. In his first term in office, Donald Trump was very keen on a trade deal. How Keir Starmer balances that with his reset with the European Union remains questionable. Of course, Donald Trump has also talked about the imposition of significant tariffs. Meanwhile, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, is understood to be meeting Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, who has a close relationship with Donald Trump. She's due to meet him at Davos next week, again laying the groundwork for a closer relationship with the United States. Already we've seen the Chagos Island deal put on the back burner until after today's inauguration, a sign that Number 10 and the Foreign Office are absolutely keen to ensure that Donald Trump feels that he has the right to veto it rather than ploughing ahead. That had been the plan at the beginning of last week, and only for then Donald Trump probably to pull the rug on it. So this is, the government is very much in the mindset of thinking to itself, the British government that is, how do we woo Donald Trump? How do we stay on the right side? This isn't really a special relationship. It's looking like a very one-sided relationship.
Meaning
that the British government is having to be very cautious, and it's having to do the running for Donald Trump. They haven't got off to the best of starts.
No, they've got sitting ministers like David Lammy and Jess Phillips who have openly slagged him off before they got in to government.
Sadiq Khan yesterday was writing an article saying we're talking about the rise of fascism and his concerns about that. And then you had the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Darren Jones, going out on the broadcast round saying that was Sadiq Khan's view and not the view of the British government. This is they have Labour politicians, either in opposition or when they are in office, like the mayoralty of London, do not have any particular love for the incoming president.
Trump wouldn't have any particular, tuning in of British politics and what Keir Starmer stands for, spending, he stands for spending abroad, that he would stand for, the social policies within the country, whatever. There's lots of things that Trump just wouldn't identify with the Starmer government.
No, and if you look at, Donald Trump has said he would like 5% of GDP, NATO countries to spend 5% of GDP on defence spending. Keir Starmer hasn't even given a commitment as to when we will be spending. That is, the British government will be spending 3% of GDP on defence spending. And 2.5%. He hasn't given a time frame for it. So, there's huge problems and points of differentiation. And this isn't just against the backdrop of post-war peace, post-Cold War peace. We're in a situation where key decisions have to be made. We've obviously got the ceasefire in the Middle East, but on Ukraine, for instance, is there going to be Donald Trump has said that America isn't going to continue to fund President Zelensky's war effort against Vladimir Putin. This is a crucial time, and Donald Trump ultimately holds the whip hand in this relationship, not just with Britain, but with the rest of Europe as well.
That's the thing. There's going to be celebrations in Washington, D.C. today, Inauguration Day, but very quickly, challenges are going to present themselves, aren't they, with Ukraine, with Russia, with China, and this ceasefire, which we know is very fragile.
Yes, and we've seen how fragile it is. We were talking about that in the last hour. It's interesting, Donald Trump wants to go, we're told, within his first 100 days in office to go and meet Xi Jinping, the premier in China. TikTok, he's lifted that ban on TikTok, and he's talking about now finding more time to allow for at least part of the sale of the company that owns TikTok into US hands. He's not hanging about. And domestically, he's already looking, and Tom Homan, who's going to be running national, inland security, home security in the United States, is already talking about potentially, starting operations to identify and detain those who are in America illegally from tomorrow. tomorrow. It is going to be a bumpy ride.
What has changed in the past 8 years since Trump's first inauguration day? Do you think he's a different man than he was in 2017?
Yes, he's learned lessons. I think that's a very astute point, Ellie. I think he's learned lessons. He's not prepared to be caught up by the bureaucracy in Washington and within the civil service within Washington. He wants to get on with it. He's got a clear agenda about what he wants to do as president in his second term, and he's not going to waste time in perhaps where he got a little bit lost in his first couple of years in office. He knows where the pitfalls are. He knows where the problems are in what it takes to be president, and he's going to be making speedy progress.
Theo, thank you very much indeed. We'll leave it there. Theo Usherwood.